Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone chant. Chant. Hare Rama, chant loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone chant. Loudly. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Loudly, don't leave. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Everyone again. Krishna, Krishna. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Everyone again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone chant again. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi ki jai. ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyama Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the Son of devotees. All glories to the Son of devotees. All glories to the Son of devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Nitai Gaur Primanande Hare Hare Bom. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivasesha Sunyavadi Paskati Desatarane. Om Agyanatamirandasya Janajana Salakaya Chaksu Samilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Sapandantikam Vansakopatubhyascha Kripasindu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Please listen to this verse. It describes, it is the words of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, just at the end of the Aghasura Lila, or the killing of the great demon whose name was Aghasura. Shamasundar, who was Aghasura's brother? Do you know? Do you know his sister's name? Yeah. And his brother was named Bakasura. They were the Asura family. But after Aghasura was killed, and he was the final member of the family to leave his body, but Krishna was so kind. And this is one of the characteristics of Krishna, that, and Uddhava mentions this, Lord Brahma mentions this later, that if Krishna is so kind to the family of Aghasura, that he gives himself Gato Latim Datri Chatam Datolyam Kamva Dayalum Sharanam Brajima, that Krishna is so kind, Aho Pakayam Stana Kalu Kutam, that he accepted just the essence of what Putana was doing, coming to him as a nurse, even though she was coming to kill him. He accepted the good in all that and awarded her the position of a nurse, in this, almost like a mother in the spiritual world. So who is more merciful? So he gives himself, he gives so much to the family of Putana, the family of Aghasura and Bakasura, that how is he going to reciprocate with the devotees who actually give themselves to him? So Brahma is in amazement about this. But here is another aspect of how wonderful Krishna is. And this is spoken by Srila Sukadeva Goswami at the end of right after Aghasura is killed. In Aghasura, he leaves his body, the soul leaves his body, and in the presence of everyone, this bright, effulgent soul enters into the body of Krishna, and everyone sees, including Lord Brahma himself, sees that this horrible creature who had tried to kill Krishna attained mukti, moksha, liberation. And everyone was amazed. So then Sukadeva says, I'll just read the English of it. Even And please listen carefully. As soon as I read this, I'm going to ask you what you remember. Even if only once, or even if by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts, in whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. I'll read it again, just because it's long. If even only once, or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind. So everyone, just take a moment to think of Sisi Radhaballabha and bring them, their beautiful forms, or Sisi Gauratai, or Sisi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. Bring their beautiful forms into your mind. Even by once, or even if one has to struggle to do it, by force, if one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Does anyone remember anything? Raise your hand. Yes.
Somebody who once, or even by force, tries to remember the form of Lord Krishna, he attains salvation because of mercy of Lord.
But not only, yes, thank you. But not only salvation, meaning moksha, but the supreme salvation. That means the spiritual world. Thank you. Anyone else remember anything else? Yes.
Even by once, by force, or by chance, one briefly enters the Krishna brings into his memory Krishna's form.
One attains the supreme salvation.
So what about in case of Aghasura, he just came once in the heart of Aghasura. And what about the devotees?
Yes.
His heart he enters.
Yes.
Becomes avatar.
Yes. Yes, more.
Yeah. Or to those who are meditating on his lotus feet.
Yes. Yes, you should be preaching. I like this. What is your good name, sir? Thank you. If we can just bring him into our consciousness somehow or another, what to speak of, keep Krishna in our consciousness. He is the source of all transcendental bliss. If he is in our consciousness, then we will experience such transcendental bliss. And by whom all illusion is removed. Because Krishna Soyasam Maya Haya Andhakar. Krishna is like the sun. And Maya is like darkness. So as darkness cannot coexist in the presence of the sun, similarly Maya cannot be there in the presence of Krishna. So it's so hard to get rid of Maya from our consciousness in the same way it's so hard to get rid of darkness from a room with a broom. Darkness from the room with a broom. Can't do it. But all we have to do is turn on the light. And then we don't have to do anything else. The darkness automatically is swept away. Get it? The broom, it's swept away. Darkness. This is the real broom. So similarly, if we want to remove Maya from our consciousness, we have to place Krishna in our consciousness. And it is naturally and spontaneously done if there is an attraction for Krishna. So our attempt is to become attracted to Krishna. And if one thinks about it, if he is all attractive, if we associate with him, if we hear about him, if we serve him, if we sing his names, naturally we should become attracted to him and attached to him. And then naturally, all the darkness that contaminates our Kali Yuga consciousness will be removed. This is the process. And Kaleo doshanate rajanasti ekom hadguna kirtanadeva krishnasya. In different ages, in Kali Yuga, the same result just by chanting Krishna's names in kirtan, Hari Kirtan. The same result as the sages got by meditating in Krita Yuga, Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. The same result we can get by just chanting Krishna's names. This is the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The same result that great, powerful, potent brahmanas perform jagyas in Treta Yuga, trying to evoke the Lord, perfectly performed jagyas, that the Lord would come himself. The same result is achieved by Hari Kirtan, Krishna Sankirtan. And the same result of the perfect deity worship is achieved in Kali Yuga, just by chanting Krishna's names. So therefore the conclusion is we should really try our best to chant Krishna's names as much as we practically can. We should try to become absorbed in this one thing of chanting Krishna's names and serving Krishna's names, chanting Krishna's names in a serving mood. That is, in one sense, the message of the Ajamil pastime. That if Ajamil achieves such a result just by calling Narayan's name, thinking his son, and you made that nice point that His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj had made, that Krishna is thinking, Lord Narayan is thinking, he may have named his son Narayan, but actually it's my name. So he's, in one sense, he's calling his son, but he's actually calling me because it's my name before it's his son's name. So Lord Narayan took it like that, and then he thought, yatat nama vyaharanan Vishnu yatastas Vishamati, he thought it is my duty to give him protection because he has called out to me. This is Krishna who we are dealing with. Such a kamvadayalam sharanam brajema. What who can be merciful, more merciful than Krishna? So therefore, who is more naturally at home? You know, who should we keep in our consciousness? Vidya sto kuru keshava. We should keep Krishna in our consciousness. That is called Krishna consciousness. So Sukadeva is saying this, that Aghasura, just by, because Krishna went into his body. Did I do that? Or is there someone in the back playing with the microphone? Did I do something wrong there? No, I said Aghasura, huh? Okay, I'll try to be better. So, if Aghasura was so purified by Krishna entering him, so therefore he achieved Krishna's mercy in that way. So then, after this, because we want to speak about Brahma Vimohana Lila, and it's such an amazing pastime, and then Lord Brahma's prayers in the 14th chapter are an ocean of philosophical conclusions and very important instructions. But Maharaj Prickett asked the question. Now this is very interesting. He asks, why the cowherd boys, because this was described, Sukadeva Goswami says this, he said the cowherd boys explained what had happened about Aghasura 1 year later, but he uses the present tense. So Maharaj Prickett asks, how could something that happened 1 year previously be described in the present tense? Why did the cowherd boys wait 1 year to explain the wonderful deed that Krishna had performed by killing Aghasura? And when Sukadeva Goswami hears this question, he says, I'm very curious to know about this. His curiosity, he was actually eager to enter deeply into this pastime, into Krishna, how Krishna acts, why Krishna does this, why Krishna does that. Why did the cowherd, what is the nature of Krishna's pastimes? His eagerness to understand these things, to become absorbed deeply in thoughts of Krishna, had caused him to ask this question. And he thought that this must have something to do with Krishna's power. It was extraordinary that they waited a year before telling anyone about what happened with Aghasura. So he was honestly curious, not mechanically. He wasn't hearing in a mechanical way, but his attention was fully focused on what Sukadeva Goswami was saying. So when he asked that question, this is how Sukadeva Goswami reacted. So Maharaj Prickett was eager to hear about Krishna. They were speaking and hearing about Krishna. And then because of the eagerness of Maharaj Prickett to understand deeply what was going on, he asked that question. And Sutta Goswami describes how Sukadeva responded to the question. When Maharaj Prickett inquired from Sukadeva Goswami in this way, Sukadeva Goswami immediately, remembering subject matters about Krishna within the core of his heart, externally lost consciousness with the actions of his senses. He thought about Krishna. And because he was a deep devotee of Krishna, when he thought about Krishna, he associated with Krishna, because Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's name, Abhinatvam Namanamano, Golokeda Premadana, Harinama Sankirtan, devotional service itself, it is not of this world. Neither Krishna, nor his service, nor his names, nor his pastimes, his activities, they are not of this world. And therefore, when our consciousness touches this otherworldly potency of Krishna, or touches Krishna in these forms, our consciousness becomes enlightened, or the darkness is swept away. But in the case of Sukadeva Goswami, because he had no darkness in his consciousness, he had no material attachments, and he was attracted so deeply to Krishna, when his consciousness just by hearing the question that was asked, he thought about the answer, and he thought about Krishna. And his consciousness, he is associated with Krishna. And he immediately remembered the subject matter about Krishna within the core of his heart. That means deeply. Not he was thinking about it, but also thinking about all the emails he had to answer and what he had to do and what's he going, getting a PR. And he wasn't thinking about it's cold outside. He wasn't thinking about, what time is prasadam? He wasn't whistling. He just was actually focused deeply on the thoughts of Krishna. He didn't have a divided mind at all. So therefore, he externally lost all consciousness with the actions of his senses. And with great difficulty, he revived his external senses. He didn't want to go deeply into ecstasy because then he wouldn't be able to speak Krishna Katha to Maharaj Parikshit. But his consciousness was like that. And with great effort, he had to fight the ecstasy for the purpose of service. Because his service was to speak Krishna's pastimes to Maharaj Parikshit, a great devotee. So with great difficulty, he revived his external sensory perception and began to speak to Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna Katha. So this is what we're listening to. We're listening to a conversation. You know how if there are two very, very important people and they're standing in the corner of the room and they're talking to each other, there's a natural tendency to wonder, what are they talking about? So here we have the opportunity to hear this blessed conversation between two exalted souls who both had love for Krishna, who were deepening their own love for Krishna by conversing with each other about Krishna, by the questioning and answering. And actually, the two in one are dependent on each other, because without the inquirer, there's no speaking. And without the speaker, there's no one to inquire from. So both of them, just by the process of hearing about Krishna, their consciousnesses are exalted and they both experience ecstasy because they're both experiencing Krishna in the process of this Krishna Katha, the hearing and speaking of Krishna Katha. And we have a chance to listen in. So let us listen very carefully. And everyone should put their phones on what? Cow? We'll give you, or Koyo, we can do first a bona fide cow ringtone, we think. Let's see if technology serves us properly. It's so slow, you should upgrade your phone immediately. Oh, it's my phone. It's my ringtone. It's good, yeah? You turned yours off. She's been good. That's what the problem was. You have to call me again. Okay, no. So Sukadeva Goswami replies to Maharaj Parikshit, O best of devotees, O most fortunate Parikshit. Just think, Maharaj Parikshit is going to die within 1 or 2 or 3 days, and Sukadeva addresses him as most fortunate. Because the absorption he has in Krishna consciousness means the association that he has with Krishna is so deep that he's just going to continue it, basically. And as in the case of Narada Muni, Sukadev describes, or rather Sutta Goswami describes, that when he dropped his body, his spiritual body was immediately manifest. His eternal body was immediately manifest simultaneously, just like lightning and with thunder, illumination. With thunder, you can see the lightning, but then you have to wait for the sound to. Yes or no? Because sound travels slowly, light travels fast. But light, the lightning and the illumination, immediately, simultaneously they occur. So because he had actually developed his spirit, and that's what we're doing. That's the practice of sadhana bhakti. Kriti sajiva vetsa sadhanadavi nitya sadasya bhavasya prakatam riddhi sadyata. That we're developing our relationship with Krishna by our chanting, by our hearing, by our serving. And then when it is mature, at the point that the body leaves, it's already developed. And that's what Narada Muni did, actually. His whole life after seeing the Bhaktivedantas was spent just chanting and chanting and chanting and hearing about Krishna. Just chanting about Krishna. Whether good things happened to him or bad things happened to him. He experienced life. He went from one kind of a place to another kind of a place. He went to the cities, he went to the countrysides, he went through dangerous jungles, and he just chanted and chanted and chanted and chanted and chanted the glories of Krishna. And why chant the glories of Krishna? Because it's completely natural for the soul. It's completely, this is our natural position to be glorifying Krishna. So, Sukadev Goswami said, "O best of devotees, most fortunate Parikshit, you have inquired very nicely, for although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, you are perceiving his activities to be newer and newer." Even though, Prabhupada explains in his purport here, listen to what he says, unless one is very advanced in Krishna consciousness, one cannot stick to hearing the pastimes of the Lord constantly. Nityam navaya manam. Even though advanced devotees hear continually about the Lord for years, they still feel that these topics are coming to them as newer and fresher. Because they're experiencing not the words on a material level as if we experience material words, as we do, but experiencing Krishna through the transcendental pastime spoken by the transcendental devotee, Sukadev. So it was so fresh to him. So therefore, I think one of the acharyas comments, because it was ever fresh for him, therefore he's considered the best of devotees. That's what he's called, best of devotees, most fortunate Parikshit. Mahabhaga, you are a greatly fortunate personality. You are Bhagavata Uttama, a topmost devotee. Of course, you're having the experience of Krishna, and it's keeping you alive. It's life. The pastimes are alive, and you're experiencing him in that way. Therefore, such devotees cannot give up hearing of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu valokayanti. The word santa is used to refer to persons who have developed love for Krishna. Yam shama sundaram achintya guna sarupam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Parikshit Maharaj therefore is addressed as Bhagavata Uttama, the best of devotees. Because unless one is very much elevated in devotional service, one cannot feel ecstasy from hearing more and more and appreciate the topic as fresher and newer. So, does that mean we are very, very advanced devotees? No. Maybe some of you, it means yes. But some of us, when we hear that, we feel advanced devotees do this, but look at me. My consciousness is so divided into so many other attachments and attractions. And when it's time for class to hear about Krishna, I'm just wondering politely how many minutes there's left or something like that sometimes. So we can become very humble and understand that we have to progress further. We actually want to become advanced devotees. We want to develop our attachment and attraction to Krishna. Why? First of all, it's natural. And second of all, why? Why should we want to become advanced devotees? Because an advanced devotee means whose love for Krishna is developed. And why is it good to love Krishna? Because then we experience our eternal relationship with Krishna. We find out who we are, we find out who Krishna is. We have a full life of transcendental experience, eternal. And here in this world, we're trying to taste the pleasures of the reflection. We're trying, and it always ends up tasting like glass, even though it might look good. It tastes like glass. Have any of you ever tasted glass? We don't recommend it. Or we could say it tastes like ashes, too. And ashes are very dry. So Srila Sukadeva Goswami continues. Paramhamsa devotees who have accepted the essence of life, they are attached to Krishna in the core of their hearts, and He is the aim of their lives. It is their nature to talk about Krishna at every moment, as if such topics were newer and newer. They are attached to such topics, just as materialists attach to topics of women and sex. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The word Sarabritam means Paramhamsas. The Hamsa or swan accepts milk from a mixture of milk and water and rejects the water. Similarly, the nature of persons who have taken to spiritual life and Krishna consciousness, understanding Krishna to be the life and soul of everyone, is that they cannot give up Krishna Katha or topics about Krishna at any moment. Such is their attachment. And it's completely natural for them. It's not forced, it's not imitative, but they've cultivated love for Krishna. And they only want that. They're like hamsas, they're called paramhamsas because they have accepted the essence of existence. And that is their relationship with Krishna. And they see the material world in relationship to their relationship with Krishna. So even in the material world, they're actually not in the material world. They're in the spiritual realm because they're associating with Krishna. And we saw Srila Prabhupada was really like that. And he sat right there. And he would give class right here. And he would speak about Krishna. And after he spoke about Krishna here, he went upstairs. He walked out those doors and walked up the stairs. And then he talked about Krishna. And then he thought of how to spread Krishna consciousness. And then he talked more about Krishna. And then when there were no devotees in his room, He would chant, he would read about Krishna, he would dictate his books about Krishna, but it was always about Krishna, everything. Everything was about Krishna. And therefore, and because it was so selfless, Krishna empowered him and allowed him to do such amazing things. Impossible things in one sense. So, Sukadeva continues. O king, kindly hear me with great attention. Although the activities of the Supreme Lord are very confidential, no ordinary man being able to understand them, I shall speak about them to you. For spiritual masters explain to a submissive disciple even subject matters that are very confidential and difficult to understand. Confidential means secret. So now Sukadeva continues describing what happened after Krishna killed Aghasura and saved the cowherd boys from being devoured by this huge python. Then, after saving the boys and calves from the mouth of Aghasura, who was death personified, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, brought them all back. He brought them all to the bank of the river. What river was it? Jamuna River. So he brought them to the bank of the Jamuna River. There's a place where they were previously. I think it's called Sarpastali. Has anyone ever been there? I've been there. Have you been there? Sarpastali, where Aghasura was killed. And then he brought them, he crossed Chatikara, the Mathura road that goes from Delhi to the Taj Mahal, that area. And then he brought the cowherd boys to the bank of the Jamuna River. And Krishna said to the boys, my dear friends, and remember Krishna, how old is this one? 4. What's his name? What's his name? Krishna? Okay. Krishna, could you please stand up? Could you stand up for a second? Just for a second. Now, and how old are you? How old are you? 4 saal. Oh. Yes? Just about that size. My dear friends, Krishna said, just see how this riverbank is extremely beautiful because of its pleasing atmosphere. And just see how the blooming lotuses are attracting bees and birds by their aroma. Vrindavan is so fragrant. And the waters are clear. The Yamuna's waters on the transcendental level, they're always so clear. And lotus flowers are blooming. And there's huge, huge trees. There's one tree in Bandiravan where the boys that would go, the Yamuna was so big, and there were branches that went all the way to the other side of the Yamuna. And the boys would climb up on the branches with Krishna, and then they would jump into the water, and the water would be full of lotus flowers, and they would play in this way. And everything was fragrant, and the atmosphere was so pleasing with the peacocks and the coils and the coils and the cows would be mooing, and the grass all around was so green and fresh because of the water of the Jamuna. That's what sometimes in Vrindavan, if the Yamuna isn't if you want to drink the Yamuna water, I've seen sometimes the look, and the coil birds would be calling. Okay, thank you. And what the people do, they dig a hole by the bank of the Yamuna in the sand, and then they drink the water from the little hole. It's because then the water is filtered through the sand in that way. Have you ever seen that? And the bees, because of the fragrant flowers, there's so many bees, so each of the different senses are enlivened there because the sound of the bees and the peacocks and the birds, so many parrots chirping, and the peacocks. Yes, thank you. Who is the peacock there? Okay, one more please. Go back to Vrindavan and practice. So the sense of touch is cooled by the breezes coming over the rivers and lakes and carrying the water droplets and the fragrance of the lotus flowers, and the sounds and the touch and the sight. It's so beautiful. So all the senses are pleased there, and it's all meant for the pleasure of Krishna. This is the specific quality of Vrindavan, that every living entity in Vrindavan loves Krishna and wants to please Krishna with their special characteristics of every living entity. And the trees would be hanging low with their fruits and offering their flowers, and the creepers would have their flowers in this way. So when Krishna saw the sandy bank of the Yamuna after the Aghasura Lila, he said, just see how the blooming lotuses are attracting bees and birds by their aroma, their fragrance. The humming and chirping of the bees and birds is echoing throughout the beautiful trees in the forest. And here the sands of the Jamuna by the bank are clean, they're soft. Therefore, this must be considered the best place for our sporting and pastimes. So it was a big area because there were countless boys and countless calves. The number used in the Bhagavatam, the description is, does anyone know what it is? They say asankhya. So asankhya means count, and an uncountable number. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ascribes a number to the term asankhya. I can't remember what it is, but it's a huge amount of calves and boys. And when they would come out of their houses in the morning, the calves, they would come out of the individual houses of the cowherd men, and then they would come into a big group, just like rivers will flow into an ocean. And then when they would come back at night, they would be in the big group, and then they would go into their individual houses of where they are. So here at Srila Prabhupada's purport, Krishna says this is the perfect spot. Dhvani pratidvana lasa druma kulam. So full of nice trees, everything is perfect for our playing. Purport. The description of Vrindavan forest as given herewith was spoken by Krishna 5,000 years ago. And the same condition prevailed during the time of the Vaishnava Charges 300 or 400 years ago. So when Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, it was a huge forest, and there were, before he came, There were no temples there at all. It's the Gaudiya Vaishnavas established all the major temples in Vrindavan. And the first one was Madan Mohan. Yes, thank you. Yes, it was Madan Mohan. And you see, that is a very, very big temple with huge, huge blocks of sandstone. Now, how did they do that 500 years ago? Quite wonderful. And there on that hill, the Dwadasa Ditya hill, that's where Sanatana Goswami would chant. And actually when Mahaprabhu gave the message to Jagarananda Pandit, when he went to Vrindavan, he said, "Tell Sanatana that I am coming again to Vrindavan very soon. Please prepare for me a nice place to stay." So that place, this is where it seems like Sanatana Goswami was preparing for Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu didn't come. But we can't imagine, really, but just think of what Sanatana Goswami's consciousness was like, because he loved Mahaprabhu. He knew who Mahaprabhu was. And he was so attracted and attached to Mahaprabhu and completely surrendered to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu said, "I'm coming, prepare a place for me." So every day he'd be thinking, "Oh, maybe today will be the day. Maybe today will be the day. Maybe today will be the day. Maybe Mahaprabhu will come." So his heart was hoping. That's always thinking and feeling separation and hoping that the mercy of Mahaprabhu's presence would again be with him. So this is actually how a devotee should live his life. Such an attraction to Krishna. And when will I get the mercy of Krishna? When will I get? Even though I'm unqualified, I've heard that he is Patita Pavan. He gave so much mercy to Putana, to Agasura, Bakasura. So when maybe Krishna will be merciful to me? Let me act in such a way that attracts Krishna's mercy, and let me wait for him and long for him. So and chant his names in that spirit. That's the teachings of the Goswamis. This is what Prabhupada has taught us. Not that I have seen Krishna, natro. That's what some sahajis say. No, not I have seen Krishna, but where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? This is what Mahaprabhu taught. After Mahaprabhu took initiation from who? Sripad Ishwar Puri. It is said that no other words came from his mouth other than, "Where is Krishna Chandra? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Can you tell me where is Krishna?" And if we read Chaitanya Charitamrita in the later parts, he's asking Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy continuously, "Please tell me where I can find Krishna. Where is Krishna? How can I find him? Where can I go to find Krishna?" And soon we're going to see him. We don't have to go anywhere. We just have to turn this way a little bit. So Kujat ko kilaham sasara sagana kirne mayara kule. Vrindavan forest is always filled with the chirping and cooing of birds like the cuckoos, koel, kokil, ducks, hangsas, and cranes, sarasa. And it is also full of peacocks, mayara kule. The same sounds and atmosphere still prevail in the area where our Krishna Balaram temple is situated. Everyone who visits this temple is pleased to hear the chirping of the birds as described here. Kujat kokila hamsa sarasa. And Prabhupada wrote this in this is the last chapter that Srila Prabhupada translated. So he wrote this in Vrindavan in 1977. So how many years is that to now? And you did that without your mobile phone being on. Pretty good. Yes. Okay, Google. Okay, Siri. How much is 37 plus... And now, 37 years later only, you can hear horns only. Not cooing, and you just hear horns on a Sunday. That's all you can hear practically. So it's being covered. But still, it is the sweetest of the sweet. So Krishna continues. I think he's described this place. I think we should take our lunch here. Because they had all come. They had left that morning with preparing for a picnic. Krishna wanted to have a picnic with his friends. And first his mother didn't want him to. Who can understand why? Yes.
Because it was Lord Balaram's birthday.
Who has another reason that's closer to the right reason?
Diwali day. It was a festival.
Why didn't Mother Yashoda want him to take a picnic lunch?
Krishna herself.
Because he's a calf herd boy. He's Krishna. Uttam. He's just this big. And also very cute, but even more cute. When your boy, if he wanted to go with his friends, usually comes home every day because he's taking out the calves, and the calves need their mothers too. So that was the compromise that they reached, because there's a wonderful pastime about this. But when you take out the calves, you can't go far, like when you're taking out the cows. When you take out the cows, you'll be away all day long. But when taking out the calves, you just go out for a few hours, and then you come back for lunch. But then, if Krishna's going to have a picnic, what does that mean? If he's going to have a picnic lunch, what does that mean? He's not going to come back for lunch. And Mother Yashoda, for her, she couldn't tolerate it, practically speaking. And even though she personally gave Krishna and Balaram permission to take out the calves, she didn't want to, but Nanda Maharaj said, yes, they can do it. So she didn't want to, but she gave them permission to do it. But still on the day they were going to take out the calves for the first time, they had a festival. And everyone threw flower petals on Krishna and Balaram and the boys and the calves as they was going out. And every house in Vrindavan had a lamp lit to celebrate this wonderful occasion. And Krishna had a stick. He had a stick and a buffalo horn. And he had his flute on his right side, like this. And he had a sash, but he was only little. And actually, just after that, Krishna started learning how to play the flute. And everyone was amazed at this flute playing that this little boy was doing. He was making the sounds he was making. So he went out, and even though Mother Yashoda had agreed to let him go, she tried to stop him. Krishna wanted to go out, but she tried to stop him because this was the nature of her spontaneous love for Krishna. She could not tolerate him being away from his sight, especially he's so little. Do you let him ever stay at his friend's house? No. You'd be thinking about him all day, or you wouldn't be able to sleep. So they had planned to make a picnic, and Krishna said, "You can't go, Mother Yasoda said." Krishna said, he asked for permission. "Mother, I want to go, please. Is it okay?" "No, Krishna, you can't go." "Mother, I'm going anyway. Can I have permission?" "Please give me permission." Krishna was so restless. So he said, "I think we should take our lunch here, since we are already hungry because the time of day is very late. Here the calves may drink water and go slowly here and there and eat the grass." So Krishna was very clever. He thought that if the cows ate the grass first, they were very, very hungry. And then after they would eat for a while, they would be wandering over far away. So first, we'll have them drink water so that they're quite full already. And then they'd come out, and there was so much soft, tender green grass there. And they would eat the grass very slowly because their stomachs were already full of water. And then they wouldn't wander away. That was the idea. So the boys accepted Krishna's proposal. And they the cowherd boys allowed the calves to drink water from the river, and then tied them to trees where there was green, tender grass. So there's a problem here, is later on the cows are going to be wandering around. Yes? They're going to wander away. But here it says they're tied to trees. So how could they wander if they're tied? So all of them? Every single one of them weren't tied very well? Krishna, do you know how to tie calves to trees? Do you ever see calves, the baby cows? Did you go to the farm and see the calves? Do you like them? In Vrindavan, you see the little boys, just a little bit bigger than this. They hold a stick and they walk behind the cows, and the cows, or the buffaloes, and they completely can control them already, but not quite that little. Because they do that since birth practically with the cows. They're members of the cowherd community. They love the calves. They love the cows. And it describes, I think it will describe, it won't describe it here, but sometimes when Krishna would take out the calves like this, he would massage their legs, and he would and then he would embrace them, and sometimes he would kiss them. And when he would kiss them, Mother Yasoda would be in so much anxiety. But he would embrace, and then he would speak to them. He would talk in their ears. He would say, "Do you want me to take you home to your mother now? Do you miss your mother?" You talk to the calves in this way. "Should we take you home to your mother now?" And you know what the calves would say? "Ma." Not ma, but that's the way calves talk. They would say, "Nah, I want to stay with you." No, they're just Krishna with his body composed of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. And every creature there loves Krishna so much. And with great love and affection, he's massaging their legs, etc. So the understanding that I gathered is that the way they tied them was not exactly with ropes, but Vishwanath hints, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur hints that they tied them by putting green, soft, tender green grass all around them. So therefore they were tied by their natural desire to eat the tender grass, which is so tasty for calves and cows. So the cowherd boys allowed the calves to drink water from the river and then tied them to trees where there was green tender grass. Then the boys opened their baskets of food because everyone had brought something from home. Every house had cooked for the boys to bring on their picnic. And they began eating with Krishna in great transcendental pleasure. So I would like to discuss this part of the pastime tomorrow and ask, we have a few minutes left. Are there any questions or comments? Because you have been listening so attentively.
Jagannatha Pandit beat the Janana.
Oh, say it again?
Jagannatha Pandit.
Jagannatha Pandit, what?
He beat
Jagannatha Pandit?
beating Sanatana.
Not really. He didn't beat him. But that's a different pastime. Good to keep the... One time Mahaprabhu, when Jagannatha Pandit gave Sanatana Goswami advice even, Mahaprabhu chastised him. Said, you're just a boy compared to Sanatana Goswami. How could you dare advise him?
You want to hear that red cow beat?
Yeah, but that's a different pastime. We're talking about this pastime now. But it's so nice that you have, Krishna has blessed you with a good memory and it's filled with things about Krishna. How wonderful. Huh?
Yes, I wanted to go.
But somehow or another, you have so many things about Krishna in your consciousness. So wonderful. You remember the whole verse? Yes.
Why did Mahaprabhu tell Sanatana Goswami is going to come to Vrindavan when he wasn't going to come?
You ask him. But that's not the pastime we're talking about, basically, though. But, I did mention, I know that. But the way of love is not straight. This is described by our Goswamis, especially having to do with Vrindavan. It is crooked, like the movements of a snake. So you think about it. Any questions about this pastime, about Krishna Lila? Yes.
Krishna, you mentioned Krishna said, I think this is the best place. So even in spiritual world, when he is performing different pastimes, he gives us independence, whether we accept his proposal and agree to perform the pastime, or like everyone just joins in.
I'll read the English. Atra bhoktavyam asmabhir. Atra, here, on this spot, bhoktavyam, our lunch should be taken. That was Krishna's mood. Asmabhir, by us. Because it is very late now. I don't think that specific intention is exactly there. But Krishna does think. The Supreme Lord is a person. And he thinks. He says, I think this place is so beautiful. It is just perfect for taking lunch. Not like I think this and put it on Facebook. What do you all think about it? I'll have a forum. Not in that mood. Just imagine how the pastimes would be as disruptive as anything. And then someone says, well, I think we should go over there. No, I think we should go over there. No, I think we should go over there. No, let's go over there. How many votes? Yeah. Not quite in that mood. But Krishna's just saying, look at the beauty of this place. I think it's perfect for our pastimes. What do you think? Maybe a little cake. Is that all right? Yes. Yes, yes.
You were talking about Krishna and the cows.
Yes.
But we're hearing here about cows. Now, how old were the boys that you said?
They were calf herd boys. This is just when they're at the end of their coma. They're like 4.
So these
Four.
cows are calves.
These cows are calves. Let's see. Then after saving the boys and calves from the mouth of Aghasura, Krishna doesn't start taking out the cows until the 15th chapter. This is the 12th chapter. In the 15th chapter is the first time Krishna enters the Vrindavan forest. That means as a cowherd boy, not a calf herd boy.
Calves is not the babies calves, because when the cows came down the hill, no one was confused. Why are they coming down the hill for these cows? Because they weren't the babies.
Yes, right, they were the middle ones. Yes, you remember that, yes. That's a whole wonderful other point, isn't it? Thank you. Good clarification. Any other questions? Yes.
Is the love, strengthened by the knowledge? Like Uddhav had all the knowledge, but he didn't have the love for Krishna. So, he was sent to Vrindavan, like, please go. So are they interdependent, or how do we develop that kind of love? Is it through also with knowledge, or just?
First of all, Uddhav had so much love for Krishna. It's not that Uddhav wasn't a lover of Krishna, that he was a jnani, but out of all the Dwarkavasis, Krishna says, I am Uddhav. He was the best of the Yadu dynasty in that sense, of his love for Krishna. So it's not that he lacked love of Krishna, but the love of the Brajbasis was just on a different level. And the Brajbasis, they had knowledge of Krishna too. But their love for Krishna, the Madhurya part, overshadowed their knowledge. It's just like if there's a very, very wealthy person just walked in this room, and Janmashtami is coming up. Now what will we all be thinking? So if we had knowledge of how wealthy he was, and he was also tended to be very generous. Hare Krishna, my old friend. Very happy to see you. But his mother, she may also know, and that we couldn't get that thought out of our minds maybe. But his mother, she may know he's so wealthy, but she doesn't care. She's worrying about, are you getting enough to eat? Are you sleeping enough? Are you, this? So it's something like that. That when the love is so strong, the knowledge of the person's position doesn't get in the way. But we shouldn't at all for a moment think that knowing about Krishna from the Srimad Bhagavatam is the kind of gyan or knowledge that's going to get in the way of our love for Krishna. Rather, it's exactly the opposite. If we become eager to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna from within the heart cleanses the heart of all impurities. Abhadrani sudanoti suritsatam. Sri Sri Radhaballabha ki jai, Sri Sri Gauranitai ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai. So tomorrow, Krishna willing, we shall continue. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.